Joining us now is Mark Daley, a theology teacher, motivational speaker, and thank you so much, Mark, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to get into the motivational speaking, but first I'd like to tell you, I understand, now this might not be particularly entertaining for people who are not from New England, but I understand you talked a little bit recently about the Pats Super Bowl victory, and how does God play, or how can we use that in the way we think of God?
Sure, yeah. I guess I was giving a talk to teenagers on God's plan for their lives. And the Super Bowl had just happened, so I was pretty psyched about that. And I thought the Super Bowl was just a great example of showing how sometimes in our lives we have low points, we go through suffering, but that God always has a plan for good in the end. And so I did this whole recap of the Patriots, really comeback, just really, really quickly, and talked about how, you know, we just have to trust that God can take anything that's really, really bad and make it into something good. And so the talk went well, and I did it for my students at Bishop Fenwick High School as well, and they really enjoyed it. So I ended up putting it on YouTube for others to watch as well.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be able to talk about that next year as well.
Hopefully, yeah.
Now, I understand you recently had a speaking engagement as well in Methuen, and maybe you could talk about that and on the call to become saints, and how did that go?
Yeah, it was a great group of young adults who came, really vibrant community there. Basically gave a talk. The title of the talk was "Do Your Job, Be a Saint." And "do your job" is another reference back to Bill Belichick, who's always telling his players, just do your job. And I often feel like God wants to say the same thing to us, just do your job. And our job is to become saints, to make it to heaven, to become saints. The only thing kind of in question is what kind of saint are we going to become. And in the talk I gave a bunch of examples of different models of holiness that I think we should strive to emulate. A lot of really great saints, some modern, some more in our history. But just try to encourage everyone to just live every day, just pray every day, Lord, help me to be a saint today. And I think that's a great way to live, and hopefully one day we'll all join the saints in heaven.
Yeah, and I know you got another talk this week as well, but talk about what made you decide to do this.
Sure.
And what was it like when you first started, doing some speaking?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think like most people who work in Catholic ministry, I went to Harvard, so that was kind of. But no, I really began. I grew up at St. William's Church. That was my home parish in Tewksbury. Provided a great foundation for my faith, and I got very involved in a retreat called Acts, Teen Acts, and that really provided the foundation, gave me a love for the faith. But going into college, I was really blessed to receive the education that I received, and I thought I was going to take full advantage of it, go to law school, get into politics. I wanted to become a really successful, wealthy, prestigious lawyer and politician. Those were my plans. But evidently they weren't God's plans. About halfway through college, I realized that I wasn't as happy as I should be, because I was checking all these things off my list that I wanted to accomplish. I was going to the best school in the country. I was getting great grades. I had a beautiful girlfriend, which was important at the time, and I really great friends. I was doing everything I wanted to do, but I still wasn't all that happy. I still didn't really feel fulfilled. Yeah. And so I took some time to reflect, and I started to really pursue my faith a little bit more, really work on my relationship with God. And over the course of several months, really started to feel better about where I was, the path I was heading. And then I ended up having an experience in Eucharistic adoration where I just sat down, I was listening, and I heard God call me to pursue a career for the church. And it was a thought that I never even had before. It just came out of nowhere, but I knew it was God. I knew He was calling me to do that. And so since then, I've just gone full force in that direction. And yeah, as you mentioned, I'm a theology teacher and Catholic speaker now. My parents are thrilled, as you might imagine.
If you could talk to the people you speak to, your students,
yeah.
How do you get messages across to them?
Yeah.
I mean, I know kids have been bombarded with so many things
Sure.
These days. So maybe if you could speak on that.
Yeah. I mean, especially, I think, working with teenagers every day. I have them in my classroom for 40 minutes every day, and they can't leave, so it really forces me to come up with new and creative ways to make the faith accessible and engaging to them. And, so I do things like the Patriots rant, and try to connect that with our relationship with God in some way. Try to use a lot of humor, and really just kind of make the faith a little bit more accessible for them in a way that they can kind of at least leave my classroom and say, I'm not really sure I believe every single teaching of the church, but when Mr. Daley talks about the faith, he's really happy about it. And, you know, like, I kind of want that for myself. I want that same joy for myself. So at the end of all my talks, you know, my biggest test is, you know, not how well I presented the material or whatever, but, you know, like, did I give people laughs? Did I make people happy? Did I give people a reason to be more interested in pursuing their own relationship with God?
Yeah, and I know you've taken to social media as well. You were saying that you post some of these talks on YouTube and tell.
Sure.
What's that been like, and you know, how did you decide to do that as well?
Yeah, I guess everyone was telling me, you know, like that. You know, if you want to really pursue this, you got to get on social media. So I got a Twitter, I got a Facebook, went on YouTube, and have a small but growing following on social media, which is good. Yeah.
So let people know how to find out more about you and where you're going to speak next.
Sure, yeah. One of the things that I'm involved in right now is pretty active on this new app called Pray. It's basically a virtual faith community of Catholics where we send prayer requests for each other, and every day I send out audio and text messages, motivational messages to help others live their faith. So you can sign up for that at pray.com/MarkDaley. And as I mentioned, I'm on Twitter and Facebook. My handle is at Mark L. Daley. You can follow me there. But I think the most important thing would be, you know, I've just really enjoyed traveling around the diocese, speaking to different parishes, different communities. And if you're involved in your parish at all at home, just to email me. It's mdcatholicspeaker@gmail.com. One of my secretaries will be with you in at least 24 hours. But available for confirmation talks, confirmation retreats, praise and worship talks, 2 or 3 night parish missions. I've just really enjoyed where the Lord is leading me, and we'll see where it takes me.
That's great. Well, thanks, Mark, for being with us today. And we're glad that you went on this path through Harvard and into motivational speaking and teaching.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm going to take actually, we'll go right back to the rest of This Is the Day.